So now we come to the end of day 2 and our final session, the wrap, a reflection and look back at some of the highlights from the past 2 days. So please join me in welcoming to the stage the leaders of the 2 organisations responsible for bringing you green cities, Romilly Madew, who's the Chief Executive of the Green Building Council of Australia, and Peter Verwer, who's the Chief Executive of the Property Council of Australia.
Well, firstly, everyone, thank you for making this such a fantastic Green Cities. Thank you, Lendlease, for supporting us once again, to all the speakers and international delegates, and as Jeff Dutella says, the GBC Mafia. And thank you to everyone for attending and the delegates for being here, and all our other sponsors and supporters. It really has been a fantastic 2 days. But there's one person from a Green Building Council who really wrapped up why Green Cities is so special. And Anne Carlinson reminded us why Green Cities is important and why we attend. To have fun, mingle, brag and steal ideas. Great that it's from a Swede and a woman. If we distill the lessons from 2 days down to 2 sentences, it's this. Our buildings, our communities and our cities are built by people, for people. People are at the centre of all that we do. Kent Larson said, "Start with people first. Cities are for people, not machines." Kent inspired us with not only his Lego units, but his urban interventions that can create micro-cities where 80% of everything we need is within 20-minute walk, where alternatives to the car are convenient, affordable and pleasurable, where vertical agriculture delivers high-quality produce, where micro-apartments are livable, affordable and fun, and where people can live large in a small footprint. We were inspired by projects that are making new, exciting places for people. Lendlease has not only dismantled the brutalitous concrete fortress in Elephant and Castle, which I was actually at 2 weeks ago, to create a sustainable and livable precinct, but it also is changing people's values so they want to live in a green way. CEO of the World Green Building Council, my friend Jane Henley, said, "We need to take our technical conversation around green buildings and link it to people." It's clear that the mood has shifted and organisations are taking sustainability to the heart of their businesses, not only because it makes business sense, but because it's better for people. So we need to get better at measuring intangibles, such as productivity, well-being, levels of stress. This was something raised by the GBC leaders and the CEOs. We heard many other clever and creative ways that our industry is delivering better environmental outcomes while also supporting better places for people. Anne Christian Carlinson also inspired us with creative funding models in Sweden that are expanding employment opportunities for long-term unemployed people while also turning the landscape from brown to green. Right here in Melbourne, retrofitting is creating jobs. As Lord Mayor of Melbourne, Robert Doyle said, "At a time we are worried about job security, the 1200 Buildings program has created an uplift of 8,000 high-value, high-skilled jobs and about 20 billion in economic activity." So what do we need to do now? It's clear that more science doesn't change opinion. Values do. We must start talking about greatest places to live, not carbon. We need to get better at engaging with people. Or as Oricon's Quinton Jackson said, "We think we are designing for people, but we don't actually talk to them." So let's talk to them. Anne Christian also said, "It's too late to walk the talk. We must start running." On a final note and a reinforcement of the idea that people are central to all that we do, I would like to acknowledge the contributions of one very, very special person, my friend and colleague, Peter Verwer. Peter Verwer is leaving our shores after 22 years at the helm of the Property Council. He was a founding board member of the Green Building Council of Australia and a Life Fellow. And he's been instrumental in driving Green Building Council's establishment and our ultimate success. Without support of Peter and through the Property Council, through mentoring, sending staff on secondment and through vocal, advocacy, the Green Building Council would never have got off the ground. Peter's multi-layered contributions to the Green Building Council over the years, guiding technical, policy and financial decisions, has been invaluable. He's been a strong supporter of Green Star and has been driving force in Australia's rapid, sustainable transformation. The fact that 20% of Australia's office space is Green Star certified is in no small measure due to Peter's efforts. Peter has also driven a strong collaborative approach amongst our industry, including through BEMP, ASBEC, but especially Green Cities. A truly unique conference, given we are joint industry partners and there is nothing else like this globally. I will personally miss Peter's insight, hard work and leadership, but specifically his challenging, direct and very blunt ways. And the opportunity to play his good cop, my good cop to his bad, something we've done so well over so many years. So I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of you here today when I say, Peter, we will truly, truly miss you. Thank you, and over to you, Peter. Gotcha.
Thank you, Romilly. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you in particular for that very kind obituary. I'm beginning to feel like a spectator at my own funeral. The relationship that Romilly and I have had over the years is unique and is not meant to work. And in fact, in other countries, as Romilly said, it doesn't work. They don't have this. It really should be like Lord Vader and Bambi in a cage fight with tasers. And I consider myself to be the doe-eyed, innocent one. But it does work because the value of the Green Building Council, Property Council relationship and our broader partnerships, and this event in particular, is that it is constantly spurring us to think in different ways, to challenge our own perspectives. One of the recurrent themes of the many years of Green Cities is occasionally people say that we're just preaching to the choir, that we're talking about ourselves, that we need to reach out further. And we do need to reach out to the broader community all the time in the way that Paul, a brilliant mayor, does in his own community. But these events aren't us talking to ourselves. These events are us teaching and inspiring each other and egging each other on. And in what will now become a classic motto for this event into the future is that we are bragging and we are stealing from each other and we are having fun. And that creates a crucible of creativity which ultimately transforms the marketplace. When I think about the first Green Cities at Homebush, I reflect on one of the other comments that people make from time to time, and that is that things aren't going fast enough, that we're not transforming the industry fast enough, and that there's still so much work to be done. And this is true. And this is a good thing. But this is also what we are so good at. When you think of that first Green Cities conference in Homebush, there were no iPhones, there were no mobile digital platforms, there was no Twitter. Facebook was an idea that was still being stolen. We had no YouTube. We didn't have the instantaneous connectivity and the ability to share our ideas that we have these days. There wasn't, BIM was the equivalent of a sharp LC-mate calculator, an idea waiting to come. We didn't have cogen and trigen in the way that we do these days. There weren't 2.5 million Australians that rely on solar energy. In fact, even in 2006, there were only 900 or so homes that had solar. This is a fast-paced change, and it's not fast enough, of course, but at least we have a momentum there which can be constantly spurred, and the way we do that is by having conversations with each other and having arguments with each other from time to time. The other big change that's occurred in these last few years are the sorts of alliances that Romilly adverted to. There was no National Growth Areas Alliance that Paul Pizzali is the head of. There was no built environment meets Parliament, where we go together as a coalition of often strange bedfellows and speak to the politicians directly. There was no Australian Sustainable Built Environment Council, where an even stranger panoply of buccaneers and intellectual pirates get together and swap notes and forge a consensus. And that is the main change. And I think the main lesson from these last few years is that we need to take what I think are the precepts of the two best speakers, in my mind, that we've had at all of these conferences, and that is Kent Larson yesterday for this technological side, you know, the power of creativity, of tools which are better than tools before, and combining them in ways that have never been thought of before. And my other personal favourite was Gunther Pauli that we had a couple of years ago, who was talking so magnificently about how we can be more creative in making what are simple solutions go further to transform society. And the theme, I think, for the next few years is going to be this. And that if we've learned anything, it is that we shouldn't self-censor ourselves as an industry in the sense that so many other countries do, where they look to governments to be the leader. The changes that we've seen in the last decade have stemmed from people such as yourselves. And the even more radical and transformative changes which will occur over the next decade will also come from you. And that's the unleashing of spirit, which is what these events are about, and which is why I've been so proud to be a part of it. So we need to forge extra political mandates outside the political system, so that we can give politicians the courage to do the jobs that they claim they want to do. Those ideas will come from that, and the strength of force, the willpower will come from us working together. So we're an industry with a will to knowledge, we have a will to action, and most of all, we have a will to define our own destiny. In many ways, I think that this is a prequel to a much, much larger story, and I look very much to working with you, even in another place, into the future. And thank you all very much for your support, and to Romilly in particular and her team for their great and unstinting contribution to this journey. Thank you very much. And now, moving to a different tone, if I could just finish by, we've had a wonderful MC, and if you could thank Jan Ryan from the ABC, who's the magician behind the curtain.
Thank you.
Can I also thank recognise on your behalf the winners of the sessions we had today. We tried something different today. In the past we've had expos, and this time we had shotgun speed dating, TED Exxon speed, as Nathan Payne said it. And what did we see? Just amazing ideas there, of which my personal favourite really is the solar decathlon. All of those, you know, an older generation of guiders, spirit guides, and 30 or so kids from Wollongong University going from Wollongong to China and winning that award. But all of the ideas that we've heard about today are variations on that theme of incredibly exciting imagination. So Chris Bunting from Oregon, Paul Cooper and the kids from University of Wollongong, Amanda Steele from CBRE, and Lucinda Hartley from Co-Design Studio, who were the People's Choice winners in each one of those sessions. Please acknowledge their great contribution. It's inspiring stuff. And our international delegates and speakers, we've worked them hard. Thank you for making the journey. We look forward to the strong reciprocal relationships in the future. There's a few of them down here. Please, when we have our wrap-up drinks later, introduce yourself to these people, because it is a global world and a global sharing of ideas. And can I thank our incredible sponsors, creme de la creme, at the Apex Lend-Lease, and please give them a special round of applause. Thank you, Lend-Lease, and Jeff, when you're in the room, but the entire team, thank you very, very much. And we look forward to working with you next year and signing up for the next decade, I think was what we were talking about last night. The associate sponsors, Autodesk, Coakley, who won an award, Dulux, who won an award, Sustainability Victoria, WSP, who are hosting the drinks after this, our supporting sponsors, Arup, Australand, Bradman Recruitment Group, City of Melbourne, Cbus. Thank you very much. Thank you to our very many supporting organisations, our production partners, the AV people who will not have to suffer me again. Give them a round of applause, please. And just for one last time, could we just have the sound up a bit in the room so we can hear at the back? That's Console, Climate Change, Lloyd Godman, who this thing here is not a Christmas decoration, it's a spectacular piece of design, and there's a piece outside that you can play with. Plant Up that we talked about last night, Rothfield, our media partners, Australian Design Review, Retrofit Australia, Sourceable, and I'm going to give a plug to our other sector partners, ERA, ASBEG, the Institute of Architects, Consult Australia, and FMA, Green Building Council, the Singapore Green Building Council, the US Green Building Council, the New Zealand Green Building Council, the World Green Building Council, did I mention them? The Swedish Green Building Council with all of their wonderful advice, and C40 Cities. Please give them all a rousing round of applause.